On July 20th, 1969, the world held its breath as humanity took its first steps on the moon. Millions were glued to their television screens, witnessing what felt like the achievement of a lifetime. The excitement was universal, a celebration of human ingenuity. But almost immediately, a different story began to unfold. Some people started asking, did it really happen? Was it all a grand illusion, a Hollywood-style production faked by NASA to win the Cold War? Tonight, we're diving deep into one of history's most persistent conspiracy theories to separate fact from fiction. The idea that the Apollo moon landings were a hoax isn't a modern internet phenomenon. It started gaining traction in the mid-1970s, not long after the astronauts returned. Books and pamphlets began to circulate, claiming NASA had faked everything: the photos, the TV signals, the data, even the rocks brought back from the moon. Over the decades, these theories have been supercharged by documentaries, movies, and the ever-growing reach of social media, each adding another layer of doubt to the official story. Let's start with one of the most famous pieces of evidence: the waving flag. Conspiracy theorists point to photos and videos where the American flag planted on the moon appears to be fluttering. Since the moon has no atmosphere, there's no wind, so how could it wave? It's a great question, with a surprisingly simple answer. The flag was held up by a horizontal pole that the astronauts had trouble extending fully, which caused the fabric to bunch up and ripple. The waving motion you see is just the flag settling after being planted and twisted into the lunar soil. The inertia from the astronauts' movements caused it to sway back and forth in the vacuum of space. It's not wind, it's just basic physics. Next up, the missing stars. Critics often ask, if you're standing on the moon, shouldn't the sky be filled with brilliant, twinkling stars? In all the official Apollo photos, the sky is completely black. This seems suspicious, right? But again, the explanation lies in photography. The lunar surface is incredibly bright, bathed in direct, unfiltered sunlight. The astronauts and their white spacesuits were also brilliantly lit. To capture any detail in these bright conditions, the cameras had to be set with a fast shutter speed and a small aperture. These settings were perfect for the brightly lit foreground, but were nowhere near sensitive enough to pick up the faint light of distant stars. It's the same reason you can see stars in the daytime sky here on Earth. The sun is just too bright. Then there are the shadows. Skeptics have analyzed photos from the moon and claimed that the shadows are not parallel. They argue this proves there were multiple light sources, like studio lights on a film set. But the lunar surface isn't a flat, perfect studio floor. It's covered in hills, craters, and dust, all of which create an uneven, rolling landscape. The sun, while acting as a single distant light source, casts shadows that can appear to go in different directions depending on the shape of the ground they fall upon. This effect, combined with perspective and light reflecting off the bright lunar surface, can create all sorts of optical illusions. What looks like a Hollywood lighting rig is actually just the interplay of light and shadow on an alien world. One of the more scientific-sounding arguments against the moon landing involves the Van Allen radiation belts. These are intense zones of radiation that surround the Earth, and some theorists claim that no astronaut could have survived passing through them. It's true, these belts are dangerous, but NASA knew that. Apollo mission planners meticulously designed the spacecraft's trajectory to pass through the belts as quickly as possible and through their thinnest sections. The spacecraft's metal hull provided significant shielding, and the total radiation dose the astronauts received was well within safe limits, comparable to what some workers in the nuclear industry receive over a year. It wasn't a matter of ignoring the danger. It was a matter of brilliant engineering and careful planning to overcome it. So, what about physical proof that we were there? Skeptics sometimes dismiss all the photos and footage, but there's something on the moon you can't fake: laser retroreflectors. During the Apollo 11, 14, and 15 missions, astronauts left behind panels of special mirrors. For over 50 years, observatories here on Earth have been able to aim powerful lasers at these exact spots on the moon and get a signal bounced back. This lunar laser ranging experiment is still going on today, and it allows us to measure the distance to the moon with incredible precision. It's ongoing, tangible, and verifiable proof that those missions left equipment on the lunar surface. Despite this evidence, the conspiracies have been fueled by popular media. Filmmaker Bart Sibrel became famous for his documentaries Like a Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, where he alleged that NASA faked footage. He even confronted several Apollo astronauts, including Buzz Aldrin, demanding they swear on a Bible that they walked on the moon. Fictional movies have also played a role. The 2015 film Operation Avalanche presented a found footage story about CIA agents faking the landing, which, while entertaining, helped blur the line between fact and fiction for many viewers. The impact is real. Polls have shown that a significant minority of people still have doubts. Depending on the survey, somewhere between 6 and 20% of Americans, and even higher numbers in countries like Britain and Russia, have expressed skepticism about the moon landings. But why? What makes these theories so compelling? Part of it is a general mistrust of government and authority. For some, it is easier to believe in a massive cover-up than in a monumental achievement of science and human will. In the age of social media, these ideas spread faster than ever, creating echo chambers where doubt is reinforced and scientific explanations are dismissed as part of the conspiracy. Mathematicians have even calculated that a conspiracy involving the hundreds of thousands of people who worked on the Apollo program would be impossible to keep secret for this long. And yet, the belief endures. The mountain of evidence supporting the moon landing is overwhelming. Besides the retroreflectors, there's independent confirmation. During the missions, radio enthusiasts and observatories around the world tracked the Apollo spacecraft on its journey to the moon and back. We also have high-resolution images from NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, a satellite that has been mapping the moon since 2009. These images clearly show the Apollo landing sites. You can see the descent stages of the lunar modules, scientific equipment left behind, and even the faint tracks left by the astronauts' boots in the dust footprints that have remained untouched for over half a century. So, when we look at all the evidence, the independent tracking, the laser reflectors still working today, the higher resolution satellite photos, and the logical scientific explanations for every supposed anomaly, the conclusion is clear. The moon landings were a historical reality. The conspiracy theories are compelling, tapping into our fascination with mystery and our healthy skepticism of power. But they remain just that: theories. Humanity's journey to the moon wasn't a deception. It was a bold, brilliant, and very real leap into the cosmos. It was a moment when we reached for the impossible and, for a short time, held it in our hands. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more explorations of science and history.